Good morning, everybody. It's Pastor Rick, Broadman Baptist Church, and this is the Broadman Word for April 24th, 2024. I hope you're having a marvelous day in the Lord and that your life is going with all the fullness that God would want for it, and that you feel secure in your relationship with Christ, and that you look for opportunities every day to move the kingdom forward, to take another step on your walk. I want to talk to you today about the holy experiment, basically set on the premise of 1 Thessalonians 4:9, paraphrasing here, but concerning brotherly love, you yourselves are taught by God to love one another. So with that, we have a local or local-ish reference that we can look at, and it's the state of Pennsylvania, right next door to Ohio, where Broadman is. And the person, William Penn, who was the founder of the Pennsylvania colony as it was back then, of course it's grown to be a whole lot more than that. And William lived from the mid 1600s to 1718, and he had actually been in England. Of course, that's where he was from. He had been imprisoned 3 different times for being a Quaker, for his religious affiliation. So he had actually had some shorter stints in prison that you couldn't really call a prison sentence, but still more than 3 times really he was put away for his faith. And this particular time that we're going to talk about, he had an idea, and he was locked away in the Tower of London for 8 months, and he wrote a classic book called No Cross, No Crown. And an excerpt from that book is a sentence that really started an entire religious freedom movement. The statement is pretty simple. It says, no pain, no palm, no thorns, no throne, no gall, no glory, no cross, no crown, which completely rejected the thought process of the day. The Church of England was the monarchy. The king was the leader of the Church of England, so you couldn't separate religion from the crown, and of course you couldn't extricate yourself from the crown because you're a British citizen. So that's how that worked, and he saw grave problems with that in terms of what God actually wanted or intended for his church to be. And so in 1682, he established a colony, and the idea was for Pennsylvania, named after him, to be a place of religious freedom, a place that would grant toleration to any denomination. And so in order to get his colony started, he printed up pamphlets in 6 different languages and sent them across Europe, telling everybody that he was going to start this place where they could all worship freely. They could all be welcome. And so very soon, there were Quakers, Mennonites, Lutherans, Dunkards with Church of the Brethren, Amish, Moravians, Huguenots, which are French Protestants, Catholics and Jews from England, Sweden, Wales, Germany, Scotland, Ireland, and Holland began arriving at this place that they came to call the Holy Experiment. It was a place that was going to test the bounds of religious freedom, and everybody was going to be allowed to worship as they saw fit. So in order to emphasize that life should not be just a simple series of Sunday events where people would go because, that's just what you're supposed to do. He named the city Philadelphia. That's where it started. And Philadelphia is Greek for brotherly love. So referencing 1 Thessalonians 4:9, Penn took this and changed it, or not changed it, took this and applied it to the very name of the city where he was starting the, I guess, practical application of 1 Thessalonians 4:9 in brotherly love right there in Philadelphia. And so he named the place brotherly love. And it was a concept that religion wasn't to be limited, and it wasn't to be ceremonial or ritual, but it should be an actual integral part of everyday life. And that was going to be demonstrated by being able to work with others worshiping God, regardless of their particular faith. So, fast forward to today, and why I'm talking to you about this is it seems that we've lost, or we're losing, that ability to have that brotherly love, that working together, because there is just so much division and strife. It seems like we're dividing ourselves up into smaller and smaller pieces, and those pieces all have their own agendas, their own thought processes, and it doesn't really comply with what God's idea, his revealed will is to us in the Bible. We need to have more of a Philadelphia look at it. We need to have a more big tent look at what is intended to be in terms of society. And no more so than in these years where we have elections, because that seems to really divide up people. And so, what I want to close with you here today is just the idea that we need to be pretty open-minded and pretty easy with our grace. There's things that we can't do because God's revealed will simply says that it's not right. And we have to stick with that, or we become something other than his church. We become a church of our own thoughts, and then I don't want to base my eternity on something that was subject to the limits of the human mind. I would prefer to obey the express will of a supernatural, all-knowing creator God, and not a God that I make because I could come up with something that felt better or made more sense to me, or was easier for me to live with. That's not the point. At that point, you take God off of his throne and you toss Jesus aside, and you put yourself or your own ideology on the throne of your life. So, other than the biblically clear principles that we all abide by because we have a relationship with God because of what Jesus Christ did for us, and our return of that love to God and our desire to live according to his will, we then need to be more of a bigger tent. That is our foundation. Scripture is our foundation. The concept sola scriptura, only scripture, that is the way we live, that is who we are, that is how we move forward based on what scripture says about things. That's our biblical worldview. But that biblical worldview has room for a whole lot of people. And so I would encourage you to learn about other groups and other peoples. Make connections where you can, and still be open to others where you can't, but perhaps being an influence on them to make them see how it is you feel and why. And perhaps in that way, they might come around to knowing the true will of God as expressed in His Word. So, brothers and sisters, go out there today, live your life, but remember, we are called to have brotherly love for everybody, even those that aren't easy to love, and even those who might not agree with us right now. It doesn't mean that it's permanent and forever. It means that you have a job to do, and some of those jobs are going to be harder than others, but the walk is worth it, and the prize is glory. So listen, I love you. You have a marvelous day, and I'll talk to you next time.